and we're live. What is up, everybody? It is your girl, Martha D. Staub, owner of MDMC Entertainment.
And I'm Mark Schroeder. I am the head of MDMC Southwest. How's it going, Martha?
It's going great because I have my friend, Brendan Brasier of 1DrProductions is here. He's our first guest ever. Brendan, thank you so much for being our first guest. I appreciate the love and everything. I just appreciate you just so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm first. I feel like Donald Trump. I'm first.
Oh God, don't say that. Don't.
I'm here too. I got a big poof today. I don't know where the volume came from, but there it is.
I love it. All right. Yeah, no. Everyone share onto your personal pages. I have mine already set up for StreamYard to go right to my direct, but let's get some viewers in. I'm excited. We already have Ryan. Ryan's in the house. Okay, from Morphin Network. He's actually going to be
Morphin Network.
He's going to be our guest here in 2 weeks too. So
nice. I've interviewed on Morphin Network before.
I have never. Well, no, wait, no. I've made cameos on Morphin Network, so can't say that. What is up, Michael? Hello. One of the New York boys has access to my account. What's up, NYC? Ryan's laughing. Yeah, this is exciting. All right. Brendan, you are a man of many talents. I was touting about you on LinkedIn, the mega talented.
None of it's true, but I'll take it.
The boy wonder, the Brendan Brasier. So I know that when I met you, you were actually doing your I met you after the documentary happened. In fact, I was really worried because I didn't know anything about it. And with Roger.
Oh, right, yeah.
And because Roger was like, I'm doing this documentary, and I'm like, for what? And I was like, oh God, we don't know this person. Who is this? And he's like, it's totally cool. Here you go. And then that's how we met. And the documentary has not only opened massive doors for Roger, it has opened up a relationship between you and I to work on other things.
Yeah.
So tell me, how in the world, I know you were working at Warner Brothers at the time, but take me back through your career. What did you go to college? Was entertainment always in your scope or in your vision? Just give me the breakdown of how did you become so amazing?
So amazing. Yeah, flattery will get you everywhere. Yeah. Eduardo, thanks for that. Michael Jackson in the back. Yeah, Michael got the king.
Yes.
My story is not a very clean one. Like when I was a kid, I was really into the arts. I played clarinet. I was a dancer. I was a visual artist, painter, that type of stuff. I went to school for that. I went to college for illustration, and then it kind of shifted from not just doing illustration, but also doing music and dance. And then I ended up being I was a professional dancer, and I was auditioning and working. I danced at Disney for a number of years. I danced back up for Pink. I got to work for wrong side. This guy. I got to work for Michael. I danced back up for Pink. Like I did a whole bunch of different stuff. I danced for Paulina Rubio. Like I just all sorts of random dance stuff.
No way.
It was one show, but I did dance for Paulina Rubio. And I had like my own instructional TV on Comcast On Demand. I was on Fit TV. I did a lot of that stuff, worked in the fitness dance realm. And at a certain point, it was actually and that's how I got the Boy Wonder moniker, because I was this little skinny white boy, and I would always wear superhero stuff way before it was like in vogue. Like now, back then you couldn't buy T-shirts at Target of Batman or anything like that. Now you buy Deadpool T-shirts, and back when I was dancing, nobody knew who Deadpool was. So I was auditioning like that. They called me the Boy Wonder, and I was really lucky to work with some really great talent. And at the time, I was Lavelle Smith Jr.'s assistant. He's Michael Jackson's creative consultant and choreographer. I was his assistant on what became This Is It. We were part of the initial project, and eventually it kind of went the route that it started going, and we left. That's another story. That's a book story. But from there, Michael had brought it up because I had talked to my agent, talked to friends and stuff after I had seen the movie Superman Returns. I thought that was a really quite brilliant modern take on the superheroes, specifically Superman.
Mhm.
And so I was like, hey, you know what they need to do is that, you know, they got Batman Begins. Andre worked with Lavelle.
Andre's in the house.
Yeah, man, worked with Lavelle. So what happened was was telling, you know, my agent, and I talked to Michael, I talked to Lavelle, I talked to all the people that I was working with, you know, like, man, they need to do Wonder Woman. They got Batman Begins, they got Superman Returns, they kind of got the modern superhero figured out. Why don't they do a Wonder Woman thing? And I started putting together, my agent was like, hey, why don't you write a treatment? And I was like, okay, I'd never written a treatment before. Wrote a treatment, had lots of input from people I knew. Tried to get that to go. It wasn't working. So eventually, I wrote a full feature with my buddy Hernan Cortez and Justin Conrad. We wrote a script for a full feature that actually led to us getting represented by one of the biggest agents in Hollywood. And we, you know, through all of those, everything going on with that, I ended up working at Warner Brothers Television. And from there, I took over some of the duties over animation, and I was working in legal clearance. And from there, it just put me in a really great place where I was being kind of mentored by multiple different creatives in animation and in television and writing. So I really got to be, you know, I was in the meetings with some of the biggest people on some of the biggest productions. The new Animaniacs, Teen Titans Go, Dorothy and the Wonders of Oz, the Looney Tunes, Teen Titans Go to the movies I worked on. So I was really involved in a lot of those productions. And when you're doing legal clearance for creative content, not necessarily documentary style content, but creative content, you're involved in the story process, because there's stuff that might be too reminiscent of this. They might be using stuff that they can't use. So you have to clear it. And then you also have to kind of massage it and guide them in a way the company feels comfortable with. So I was involved in a lot of that stuff. So that's how it kind of happened. And yeah, that's where I got to where I am now.
So, well, let me ask you, were you professionally trained dancer? Did you spend lots of times in the studios? Like, what age did you start dancing?
I was at 7. When I was 7 years old, I keep doing the wrong side. This guy behind me put out a music video called Bad. And I was harassing my mom.
Yeah.
It was some kind of holiday, and my grandparents were coming to town, and my mom was cleaning the house, and I kept bothering her, and she said, hey, let's find something for you to watch on TV, and grabbed a chair and put it this close to the television set and started going through stuff. Like, she was really upset. And she made the biggest mistake of her life, and we clicked on the Bad video, and Michael Jackson was on there. And my mom said, look, it's Michael Jackson. You love Michael Jackson. And at the time I was like, well, I mean, I like Michael Jackson. I don't love Michael Jackson. Like, you know, at the time I was much more of a Hall & Oates guy. But as soon as he went, bah, and then it turned color, and then he started singing, and they started dancing. First time he grabbed himself, I was like this. What the is this? And I fell in love, and and so from there, I just, you know, I'd already been kind of into dancing movies and stuff. Like, I liked, you know, Breakin' and Beat Street, and Chorus Line. I watched every weekend. I watched a Chorus Line.
Right.
But, after the Bad video was over, I just started copying his moves, and I became quite the famous Michael Jackson impersonator in my elementary school and my junior high. And I never took class until I was in college. I was doing shows. I was choreographing my own shows in high school and elementary school and junior high, and choreographing my own little numbers and stuff, and then winning talent shows all over the place. And then a buddy of mine joined a team called Culture Shock, which is a nonprofit dance group that they're all over the world, and they kind of inspire kids to do positive things like dance, as opposed to drugs and gangs and that type of stuff, bad behavior. So he started training with them in San Diego, invited me down. I started training with them in San Diego with my buddy. And then somebody suggested I look up a dance studio called Madonna Grimes Fitness Theater, because the drive to San Diego was a lot.
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll check out Madonna Grimes. I don't really know who this is, or Madonna, like Madonna, or like, what is it? And I met this incredible woman named Madonna Grimes, who became my mentor. She's a professional dancer, choreographer, worked with everybody. Like, her resume is stupid because she's worked with everybody, sponsored by everybody, dance team, toured the world. She's a massive celebrity, and she took me under her wing, started calling me her son, and just taught me everything about dance. I was in classes every day, 7 days a week. When I was in college, I was taking dance classes too, but they weren't nearly at this level. And then she started booking me on work, and that's when I got Disney. That's when I became a college professor at Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Polytechnic Pomona, and Riverside City College, Chaffey College. Like, all this because she mentored me into a career of dance, and that's what kind of got my life on track.
Yeah,
dancing I did, but it wasn't much. It wasn't until I was in college age range when I started dancing.
Well, I'm professionally trained. I did ballet since age 5 up to high school graduation. I did jazz when I got into 6th grade. So your life is like what I wanted to do. Because after high school, I was like, my dad's like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to LA. I'm going to go be Britney Spears' backup dancer. He's like,
should have done it.
No, he wouldn't let me. It was tough. I grew up in a really.
I have a Britney Spears story for you. Actually, I have a funny story. I don't know if we should go into it, but I do have a funny story. I was almost on the I think it's what was it, the Onyx tour? It was. I don't remember what tour it was, but I was in the finals, and there's they had a choreographer creative switch, and it was kind of like mid audition, and it was a really weird thing. And it's funny because the choreographer that came a really good friend of mine. That's really strange. That's one of the stories for the book. Definitely, it's really. It's spilling the tea a little bit. It's
I love tea
in the cancel culture modern day of like, yo, you better not be.
Yeah, no, we can't get sued.
Yeah, I have a story, and it's not Britney. Britney, when I met Britney, she was wonderful. It wasn't Britney that made herself look bad. It was definitely somebody else, and it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you lived the life that I wanted to, because I kept telling my dad, I was like, I'm just gonna go to LA and the hell with it, because I have family out here. I was like, I can just stay with them and I'm gonna go figure it out. And he's like, you have no connections, you have nobody. He's like, you're a good dancer, but you're not like great. I'm a
great dancer. There's no part of me that believes that I'm a great dancer. In fact, I have a title for my book, and when I do decide to sit down and do it, it's the misadventures of an above average dancer, because I'm not a great dancer. I'm a dancer that just worked really hard. There's not that I'm comparing myself to Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson, being a Seahawks fan, he's a good example of somebody who does have natural talent, but beyond his natural talent is need to work hard, to be the first one in the building, to be the last one to leave, to study, to find the greats, and to work with them. And that's what makes him great. Now you look at someone like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick came out of the womb an incredible athlete, top to bottom. When they were both playing, I would say they're really evenly matched. People would go, why? And I would say because Colin Kaepernick is the most natural athlete I've ever seen. And then in comparison, a guy who's too short, who is supposedly a better baseball player than a football player, and all these different things. He's won a Super Bowl, been to 2. He's put the Seattle Seahawks on the map, really, as a franchise, and that is 100% because of his work ethic. And with me, everything that I've done, because I also see Michael said, any advice for people trying to break into show business? 100%. My opinion is 100% that. Go and do it. Just do it. Like because I also have a rule to myself. I don't go learn from people. And what's funny is I asked in college. I took illustration from a guy named Bob Ronchetti, and he incredible artist and talent and instructor who's great. And he said, you know what? Just call these people. And I was like, what? He's like, here's your phone. Here's the phone number. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I met them once. Here's their card. Call them. I was like, you just call them. And so I would just call somebody, and he told me what to say. And he would say, and I'd call, hey, listen, I'm so-and-so. I'm doing this. I'm learning how to do this. I'm a big fan of your work. You know, I would love to learn from you. And that's the thing is because I have a real issue with people that are afraid to go chase their dreams, but then get brave enough to make the initial step. But they go to people that A, don't want to help them, B, don't have the experience or knowledge to help them. You know, and I've gotten turned down. I have lots of, if you were to go to my Facebook Messenger or go to my email, there's lots of stuff where there's no response. They read it, they don't respond. People that I know, even people I work with, where I go, hey, I'm doing this, and I would love your input on this, and they just don't respond, or they do and tell you to get lost, or you know that 10%, that 1% will reply and go, hey, how can I help you with? You know, like the other day on LinkedIn, I saw one of my favorite directors and creatives, and I just messaged him, and he was like, hey, I told him, I was like, you know, I'm not even trying to do anything you're doing. I just want to tell you that I love this movie. Yeah. And I love your work. I think you're incredible. And this is what I do. And if you ever need any help with anything, let me know. And he sent me 10 messages, and we went back and forth for a while. Okay. My favorite comic book artist, I've gone back and forth with Scott McDaniel in emails back when I was in college, when I was studying illustration. Lavelle Smith, who I talked about earlier. I was at an audition for an agency, which I luckily booked. It was with MSA. And I looked to my left while we were learning the routine, and Lavelle Smith walks in, and I was just like done and totally, you know, gave up on the audition. And then I was lucky enough that I was able to pick it up. It was by a great choreographer, TJ Roro. He's an incredible guy, and I didn't want to be disrespectful to him, but I walked off as if I was going to the bathroom. And I walked over to Lavelle, and I just stopped him. I said, yo, you know, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm a huge fan. I'm such a big fan of your work. I have everything you've ever done. I know your entire catalog of work. I'm such a fan. I said, and he said, are you auditioning? And then I realized, holy crap, what if I dance in front of this guy and I don't know the routine? So I said, yeah. And he goes, cool, I'll be judging. I'm like, oh God. So I went back in, and I, you know, luckily Roro's style is similar to mine. And I just pushed through and learned it, performed it a few times, and had a great smile. I was like, hey, had the personality. And then Lavelle gave me his phone number, and then we were buddies, you know, all the way through. And then he's the one that brought me in on the This Is It project. And actually it was me pushing him. I was like, hey man, we need to get Michael to tour again. We're done. We need to get going. And I kept pushing. And then he made the initial call to Michael, and he and I put together a pitch and pitched what became This Is It. Because originally it wasn't called This Is It. This Is It was the tagline. But when we left, they used the tagline because Michael made up This Is It. The original title was not This Is It. In fact, Janet stole it a number of years later and used it for her show. Right. The show was called Michael Jackson's Metamorphosis. And the tagline was This Is It. Like, so, this is the place to be. Yeah.
So when Michael was doing this, when this initial thought of This Is It, was it in his mind that this was his final show ever? Or this is it, like the boom, like, you know, this is the best show
ever? I think that connotation came to it. And I think even for him, it kind of came that way. That was not initially what we were thinking, because what This Is It was supposed to be, this is it. This is the place to be. You've got to see this. This is it. And I think it was Lavelle actually that came up with it. But I don't recall. It was a number of years ago. But it was either Michael or Lavelle, but I kind of am leaning towards Lavelle, because that's something Lavelle says. Lavelle is like, this is it. This is it. And also later, you know, the connotation to it was like, this is it. I'm out. And then also something else was that it was not one show. It wasn't just the O2. We do a bunch of shows at the O2, outnumbering Prince, because Michael wanted to do more than Prince. And then the idea was it was supposed to start, I'm totally spilling information that they never said. Originally, it was supposed to be start at the O2 in London. Then it was going to come to Las Vegas and do the same amount of shows there as a small residency, because I think it was like 52 some odd shows, something like that. So we were going to go do there. And then I'd have to look at because I have a bunch of the artwork and stuff for the original version of This Is It Metamorphosis. Because it's a completely different show. They only kept they kept 2 of our numbers. But there was that. And then it was supposed to go to Australia. And it was supposed to close in Japan. Oh, it was 50 shows. 50 shows at the O2, 50 shows in Vegas, 50 shows in Australia, 50 shows in Japan. Because the idea was that this was going to be the last tour. The end of his career or anything. But it was going to be the end of the touring. He was done touring. He hated touring. So we were going to do London, Vegas, Australia, and Japan. The idea was that we were going to close in Japan, which is where his first solo tour opened. So that tour started in Japan. We were going to close This Is It or Metamorphosis in Japan. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, I got stories on that one. Oh my God. With lots of things.
That is a hell of a ride. So I think you've told me this before. We've said this in conversation that you ended up at Warner Brothers because you were actually asked to teach dance at the studio there. And that's how that led you into getting into that job there.
Yeah. I mean, going along with that mentality of like, what can I do? How do I get in the doors? And then just talking to people. Madonna Grimes again, my mentor. Excuse me. She said, hey, I teach at Warner Brothers. And I was like, wait, what? And she said, they have a gym and I teach dance there. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, of course I do. I love Warner Brothers. I'm a Warner Brothers fanatic. And she said, cool. Come with me to Warner Brothers and we'll get you on, you can come assist me in my classes. We'll get you on as one of my substitutes in case I can't teach, because she was touring all the time. She's all over the world. And I was like, great. And she goes, and then they'll love you and then they'll give you a job. I was like, okay. So I was doing that. And then I was really lucky that I got to wander the lot. I just got to wander Warner Brothers. And I met so many famous, huge people in my classes. I met them in the gym. And they're just, the Warner Brothers gym has the greatest people working there. And they were all very supportive. And at the time I was kind of at a weird crossroads in my life. I didn't know what I was doing really. And this is after Michael had passed. So my dance career, I was still working. I actually, at the same time, I was booking a lot of work. I did some stuff for Trident. I was working for Nike. I was doing, I choreographed a music video for Too Short. Like I was doing a lot of stuff, but my heart wasn't really in it anymore because once Michael was gone, wrong side. Once Michael was gone, I wasn't really into the dancing thing. I was kind of over it. And so I started teaching dance there, and it was really great, and everybody was really wonderful, and they loved me. And then all of a sudden, they were like, "You really know DC Comics, and you really know the Looney Tunes catalog and the Hanna-Barbera," and it's because I was a nerd, And so over time, I was like, yeah. And then they would start bringing me stuff, and I had a little girl, so they'd start bringing me Robin outfits for her and shoes and Converse with Christian Bale on the side and stuff for me. And then eventually somebody was like, hey, do you want to work, like have a real job here? And I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, it's up to you if you want to keep dancing. And I was like, no, I mean, I can still dance, if I, a little bit, but I would love to work here. And they said, great. And they shot me over to an interview at Warner Brothers Television. I had 3 interviews right there. And then they offered me the job. And then that was it. It was all because Madonna Grimes had set me up for that. Right.
Now, you ended up in the animation department. Mm-hmm. Did you do animation, or was it just the clearance part of it? And
I just did the clearance part of it. I mean, I had studied animation when I went to college initially before I switched over to more of the performing arts thing when I was in illustration and stuff, because they required everybody to do animation because animation at the time was really hot. I mean, it is really hot now, but they were really pushing the animation thing in college. So I had a little bit of background in it. I didn't, none of that stuff I did. I did occasionally for when I was issuing notes, they'd ask me what they want. At a point when they started to trust my judgment and also trust my knowledge of things, the productions, they would say, hey, can you just send me what you want? And I was like, yes. So I'd take their image, I'd Photoshop it, and Photoshop notes in it, and Photoshop the color schemes and stuff. A lot of that with Teen Titans. I would send it over to the creatives, and they go, okay, cool. We're going to redo it, and we'll send it to you for approval, and thank you for sending us this. Now we know how to do it. And so that's kind of how it went. So I wasn't doing animation. I was doing completely legal clearance, script clearance, character clearance, trademark, copyright, commentary, parody, video, a little bit of music, theatrical, posters, promotional assets. So that's I ran kind of the clearance on it. But the thing with clearance in that setting, when it's creative stuff, once you get trusted enough, you are definitely involved in some of the creative process. Because at a point they go, okay, because you can't keep issuing the notes of this is not clear, please advise of alts. Well, once they get through 3 of those, they go, well, what do you want us to do, dude? What can we do? And then once they start to like you, like I'm really lucky, like I got to work with one of my favorite creatives. His name's Wellesley Wild. And he works on Animaniacs, and he worked on Ted, he worked on Family Guy. He's written just great movies. I love the guy, Wellesley Wild. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's incredible. His work is outstanding, and then on top of it, he and I had a really good rapport. And our first meeting, he hated me. I swear to God, I thought he was going to get up and punch me in the face. But then, within the next 2 meetings, which happened a good amount of time later, he just would start going, well, Brendan, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, we can do this, we can try this, we can do this, we can do this. You're the creative. I don't want to step on your toes, but here are some options. And then guess what he would do? Well, we'll just do that. And then you just look at everybody in the meeting and go, just do what he says. That's a great idea. We can do this and do that and do this. And so in moments like that, that's where I got to be really involved. And I got to do that with lots of Titans Go.
Very cool.
People have egos like that. Like, I'm surprised this guy was willing to like.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. One of the things that I'm surprised by, and also keep in mind, I mean, I worked with, I keep going the wrong way. This guy, like Michael, Too Short. I worked with Ricky Reed from Wallpaper. I worked with, all the head guys on Teen Titans Go, Animaniacs, like I said, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera. A lot. It's interesting in my time with doing that stuff. I would say I've met in animation. In animation, I would say maybe 1 or 2 people that egos had to be kind of massaged and kind of handled. Maybe. And in the hundreds of productions I was on, I mean, my IMDb page makes me look famous because it's just of animated features,
Yeah, I know. It was funny because Jared was like, "Oh, let me look into what Brendan's done." He's like, "Holy crap!" Because I have an IMDb, I only have 2 credits, but Brendan's.
I need to set up a page because they have stuff as me as a choreographer, stuff as me as a dancer, and then stuff as me, in animation and TV, all broken up. So I need to pay for a subscription to it so I can combine them.
I used to have it. I used to have my name on it because I got a credit when I was working on this project with a Star Trek actor, and that was my first set and everything. And
which Star Trek actor?
Manu Ente Reme from Voyager. Egypt.
Oh, I love Voyager. I'm a Captain Janeway guy.
I love Captain Janeway.
I'm a Janeway guy. Janeway is my second favorite captain.
Who's your first?
Oh, there's only one captain, bro. There's only one captain. It's kind of a Gryffindor answer. There's only one captain. I mean, let's be real. There's one captain.
Come on.
And it's Captain James Tiberius Kirk. There's only one captain. I mean, no offense to everybody else. I mean, I love Pike, and I'm cool with Picard. I love Riker. But honestly,
don't get her started on Riker.
Riker's great. There's nothing wrong with Riker.
I've worked with all of these people, so
I'm talking about the character. I don't know the actors, but I worked with William Shatner, and William Shatner is pretty amazing. I worked with William Shatner on Batman, Two-Face. Yeah, that's what I worked with. Yeah, the Batman, the animated Batman 1966 style Batman animated feature, Two-Face.
Yo, I'm a Gryffindor too, Andre.
Star Wars is greater than Star Trek. I'm gonna have to. I'm a huge Star Wars guy. I live for Star Wars. My kid has like every different lightsaber, and she fought Darth Vader at Disneyland and everything, and lives for Rey. And I'm a huge Rey fan, but
look,
I'm more of a Trek guy. I love them both, but I'm much more of a Trek guy.
I was introduced to Trek first. It wasn't until later on that I actually got into Star Wars. I love them both. I think they're great, but
it's funny. The first 2 movies I saw in theaters as a child. The first movie I saw was The Wrath of Khan, and the second movie I saw was Return of the Jedi. And And then the third one was Ghostbusters. So my parents set me up for failure early on because my whole life would become Michael Jackson, Star Trek, Star Wars, and freaking Ghostbusters. But I Star Trek to me is more identifiable because where Star Wars is fantasy and kind of religion based,
right?
Star Trek is more politics and dealing with people. Because I whenever someone talks about Star Wars and then they mention Earth, and I go, there is no Earth in Star Wars, or they mention that it's the future. Star Wars is not the future. Star Wars is the past.
Right.
A long time ago. So Star Wars is not futuristic. Star Wars is fantasy. You know, it is science fiction, but it's fantasy based. And Star Trek is much more, this is the future. This is kind of where we're going.
First of all, let's give some love to Battlestar Galactica because I like that. The Edward James Olmos version. I haven't watched the old one.
The old one is the only one I would watch. Rick Springfield is in it. Come on, man. No, I'm an old guy, so I never watched the new Battlestar Galactica, but it just looked too dirty and too dark for me. And I can't separate myself from the original Battlestar Galactica. I think I'd have to really sit down. It would be work for me to sit down and watch it because I'm going. When are the shag haircuts and the tan outfits and the lasers going to show up? Because I want to see that. I want to see kind of the last Starfighter version of it, and the 80s are over, so I wouldn't get to see that in Edward James. And I love Edward James Olmos. He's in my favorite movie of all time. But
I met Edward. He was great.
Cool. He's super amazing.
Richard Hatch. I ran into him quite a bit at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was out there with Manu. He was finishing up a panel. I was waiting for him to finish, and Richard Hatch came by. He's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I was like, "Hey, I'm good. How are you doing, Richard?" He's like, "I'm good." You know, that was the last time I saw him before he died. I was like, "Damn it."
That's a bummer.
Sad. Mark, I've been dominating. Do you have any questions for
No. Well, no, this is kind of what I was thinking is that, you know, Brendan has some great just stories and the great explanation between, you know, Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, there are people who will sit there and intentionally sit there and try to combine the two. You know, it's just like, oh, this is Star Trek and it's pointing at something at Star Wars. You know, and I'm just like, you know, I totally agree with you at the fact that, I mean, in both avenues, they're great movies, but you have to separate them.
Yeah,
it's very different. I mean, and that's the thing is that, like, when it comes to, and that's with all. I'm also not a huge fan of the whole crossing over of properties type stuff because you sully them, and you know, I mean, a good one since Power Rangers is on topic. I hate the Power Rangers beating the Ninja Turtles. I loathe that.
I hate that episode.
And Power Rangers in Space, in my opinion, is easily, you know, arguably the best and easily in the top 3. All Power Ranger seasons. But man, that episode is just, oh my God, a drag. I was just I hate it. I hate crossing properties. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you started 1DrProductions right smack dab in the middle of your time at Warner Brothers. What prompted you to start 1DR?
Honestly, what's funny about it is that I completely made it up only to have a tag at the beginning of the Man Behind the Sweater documentary. My buddy Hernan and I was like, hey, you know, he's like, well, we need there's got to be a name. There's got to be some kind of thing. I'm like, oh God. And when I was dancing, like I said, they called me the Boy Wonder. And when I was in high school, there was an extra credit sheet, a really stupid one, that had license plates on it. And you had to kind of guess what the license plates were trying to say with numbers and letters and stuff. Yeah. And my parents used to do that when I was a kid. They'd be driving like, oh, that says blah, 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 or this says blah, blah, blah. So there was one that said boy, B-O-Y, the number 1, D-R. And so being a big Robin fan. I mean, my wedding ring is the Nightwing logo, if you can see it. Oh, you can see it. Hey, oh, no, there it is. There it is.
There you go.
But Robin has always been my favorite superhero. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, I used to have a T-shirt that said "Boy 1DR" on it when I would go to auditions and stuff. After they started calling me that, and so I was like, "Oh, 1DR, 1DrProductions," and 1DrProductions does exist, but 1DR does not.
Right.
So also, if you look at the logo without violating any copyright, the 1DR, the R is very reminiscent, but not based, not directly based. It's reminiscent of the Tim Drake Robin logo.
Right.
So I started it really just because, you know, to make it look official. I was like, oh, 1DR Productions. There it is. And then, you know, so we started doing all sorts of side projects for fun and then professionally. And then, yeah, and then all that started happening.
Right. Because your first one was The Man Behind the Sweater.
Yes. It's the story of Philip Maldonado. He was the dumb kid costume assistant that pointed out that Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street films was all burnt up, but his sweater looked brand new.
Yeah.
And while they were doing pre-production, while they were doing production on one of the films, and he was working on pre-production for the next film, the two productions were kind of crossing because they were just going to kind of pass it off. Mm-hmm. And I guess, you know, if you watch the documentary, he was in the conversation and just said, hey, you know, and they were like, can you throw one together? And he goes, I already did. Boom. And he threw together and aged and burnt and kind of blackened around the necks and around the neck and around the sleeves and around the bottom and put some holes in it. And now it's protected. They protected it after that. I believe it's the third one or the fourth one where he actually had the sweater chopped up. And it was based on his design, and he did that. And then that started his career, and he worked on Suicide Squad. He worked on Titanic. And so this is the story of his career and all the amazing things he did. Yeah, so Philip Maldonado is extremely, extremely talented and nice guy. He's a giant amongst people, and he's just that launched his career, and he became, and still is, a very massive deal in the costuming world for feature film and television.
With that being your first interview, you've obviously amassed more with Roger, and then being the biggest Ghostbusters fan I know, you also got Robin Shelby to sit down and talk to you. How did that happen?
Yeah. How did that happen? No. Oh, one of those things I hadn't thought about in a while. As I recall, a good buddy of mine, so I had met somebody, and I think had I met Robin Shelby already? I hadn't met her. I had a friend of mine who was like, yo, you're a big Ghostbusters fan. I was like, absolutely. And he said, I'm buddies with the woman who played Slimer in Ghostbusters 2. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I'm a huge fan. And he said, well, you know, maybe her and her husband, Sean, would like to come hang out at Warner Brothers. I'm like, I'll give them a tour. Like, just let me know. And they came over, and I got to meet both of them, and they're both extremely wonderful people. Hearts in my eyes talking about them. They're wonderful. And I brought it up, and immediately was like, oh yeah, absolutely, let's go. And so we do a documentary on her life, and I didn't realize all the different stuff she's done. Mm-hmm. She was huge. She's huge. I mean, her and her husband Sean both are everywhere. She was in Beverly Hills Cop, as was Sean. She was on the TV show Sybil, and she was a line coach on Sybil, and then became a character on Sybil. She was in Willow. Freaking Willow, like being a nerd. Willow, like, it's one of the golden standards of how you do excellent fantasy movies. And so I did that with her, and then she was also in Ghostbusters Answer the Call. And what was really great is, if you watch the documentary, it's a story of there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. The end to it really was her finally getting the recognition for being great. She was not invited to the premiere of Ghostbusters 2. She was not invited to any of the after parties. I don't even think was credited originally, because it was kind of they wanted to preserve the magic of Slimer, so Slimer as himself. And then they credited her as kind of a character actor. This is like character something or something like that in the credits. I have to look it up. And it says Robin Shelby. But she was not credited as the Green Ghost, and that was what she did.
Huh.
And in Answer the Call, Paul Feig had her come back and play the female, because there's two Slimers in Answer the Call. There's the male Slimer and the female Slimer.
Right.
And she is the voice of the female Slimer. And he asked her as they were doing ADR, can you come in and we want to base some of the motions on your face. When you do all the voicing, he's like, you're a legend. You have to do it. And that's how Paul Feig talks about her. And being a huge fan of Paul Feig, I was like, oh my God, you just had a legend on camera tell everybody how you are a living legend, which she is. And it was really great. And so she got to go to the premiere on the green carpet, and the end of it's pretty amazing. The documentary at the end of it, you see her home video footage of her on the green carpet and people screaming for her and reaching out to her. It's kind of emotional. Like, I'm gonna get teary-eyed thinking about it, but it's a really big deal, because going from being this kid who got to play Slimer in this big deal that nobody knew she did, only the true, crazy fans like myself know who she is. And then now for people, it's common knowledge, man. Robin Shelby is Slimer, and that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the project of the hour, the Back to Action Project. Now, I know you and I have talked about this on Instagram Live, which you caught me looking awful without makeup and everything. So now I look good. And
you and Jezer, I both am like, I'm getting you, and then you jump up. I know. Ryan next. I'm going to invite Ryan next. Oh, I've got beeping out my window. I apologize.
No problem. No, I know that, basically when you call, I answer. I don't even care. I'm like, what do you want? Because, that's just our relationship. You call and it's important, and I'll drop everything I can to talk to you. So, but a lot of people here probably don't know the story behind the Back to Action Project, and you actually pitched it, you pitched it to Saban, and you actually told me about it on one of your coveted tours around Warner Brothers, which I got. I got the one outside of the buggies and stuff. I got the exclusive tour, and that was back in 2018 on my birthday. And you pitched this you told me this amazing pitch that you did, and the work that went behind it. Go.
Okay, so how much tea spilling are we going to do here? Okay.
You know what? I know there's a lot of tea behind it, and it's up to you on how much you want to spill.
Well, I am a firm believer, and this is, as you know, and this is with documentaries and with Roger Velasco specifically, the sell with him. And when I did the documentary, I don't believe in promoting negativity. I don't believe spreading negativity. I'm not a proponent for it. I'm actually very against it. And so when people turn left instead of turning right, I'm going to say, yeah, they turned left. I'm not going to say they're bad people because of it. I'm not going to say, and there was a little bit of contention with this project. But what happened was, at the behest of my girlfriend, then my wife now, was that I pitch, is very Kevin Smith of me, but there was the fan trailer for a Power Rangers a gritty reboot, modern feel that was really great, and I really liked it. I was like, I really like it. It's really well done. I'm not into the dark side of it. I like dark stuff, but I don't think Power Rangers is the place for it. But it's really well done, and the digital Tommy shield is incredible, and if I ever got the opportunity to steal that, I would steal the hell out of it. I loved it. So what happened was my girlfriend, my wife now, girlfriend at the time, was like, well, what would you do then? And I was like, well, I would do da 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 da. And my mom and I always would go to lunch, and we would assign a sequel. We'd go sequel to Jewel of the Nile, or to movies that we always thought should have had sequels that didn't, or the new, how do you do Indiana Jones now and Harrison Ford isn't the lead? What do you go? And what's it called? What's the plot? We used to do that crap for fun because my mom's a nerd as well. Yeah. So we would do that type of stuff. And so I was like, well, like E.T. 2, what I would do is I would go da-da-da-da-da-da, bring this character, and this would be the plot. And then over the conversation, it turned into something much better than I thought. Initially just And she said, well, you should go talk to, what would you need to do to pitch that? And I was like, well, I would prefer to have the original cast on board, because what's the point of trying to pitch something when, you have no cards? So the idea was I would stack up my cards with the original cast and their support and go, this is what I want to do. And the idea was to bring back all of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers back. Obviously, unfortunately, you have to figure out Trini, because, the actress passed away a number of years ago. And so that's something you have to figure out. So I was like, okay, well, then that's the story. That's the plot. The plot is figuring out how to handle the Trini character. That's the plot. And then I started going into where the characters would be, how you, and she was like, yeah, she's like, well, how about I set you up with one of them? And I was like, what? And she said, well, I'll set you up with one of them. And God, do I say names, or is this the point where we start doing that?
It's up to you. You can as you want.
There's no negativity, so this is nothing.
No one sue us.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no NDAs. There's nothing. This was all handshake conversation type stuff. But there is nothing. I'm not going to spread anything negative, because nothing negative of it.
No.
But I want to. My fear is that they'll be doing Morphin Network, and someone will be like, "Hey, so this guy says that 5 years ago," or they'll be on hashtag or something. So this guy says, and then they go, I have to talk about this. So I hope that that's, nobody takes that in a negative light, because it was a very positive thing, and it was a really great thing. But so Walter Jones and I had lunch at Warner Brothers, and Walter Jones is easily one of the coolest people I've ever met. And he's a friend of mine, and I have nothing but respect and love for him. And he's done way more to support me and be a friend to me than I know if I could even do for him, other than if there's ever an opportunity I can do something for Walter Jones, I will do it, because Walter Jones is the spine of what this project was going to be. He initiated it easily. So he and I have lunch at Warner Brothers, and I can tell he's hesitant about the idea. And I start throwing it at him, and he's sitting there and he's just doing this. And he goes, okay, well, and I'm expecting him to go, okay, cool. Well, I'll go think about it and get lost, and I would just burn the bridge, and instead Walter Jones goes, what can I do to help? And honestly, it was like in a movie where the montage starts, because as soon as he said that, in my head, I swear to God, I heard the guitar track start, and I was like, oh my God, Walter Jones likes the idea and wants to go with it. Like, no notes, no nothing, just what do you need from me? And that meant a lot to me. And I said, would you be willing to help me recruit other people and get their input for what they like, what they don't like? Because the idea is that we would walk in a united front into Saban, who owned it at the time, and say, hey, here's what we'd like to do. This is how we're going to cover it. I also told him, because at the time at Warner Brothers, they had just done Veronica Mars, and Veronica Mars was crowdfunded originally, and then Warner Brothers joined on and paid for it so it could be a bigger production. And then it became the Veronica Mars movie, which was really great. So I was like, I want to do that with the original Power Rangers. And so he thought it was a great idea. And I said, so yeah, I'm, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I want to set up conversations with some more people so that we can have as many people as we can walk in with a united front into it. And he said, done. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I would say probably the following week or so, I'd have to look at if there's records somewhere, when we started emailing back and forth. But I went into this coffee shop. It was just so weird. I go to the coffee shop and I'm standing, and I was told this coffee shop at this time, and walks in Austin St. John and Karen Ashley, and which was, 14-year-old me is like this. Oh, what in the, at that point, that's when it became real. Walter Jones is super cool and is a great guy. And I had met him at least once or twice before we had that meeting.
Yeah.
Not talking about Power Rangers. I just met him and hung out with him a little bit. But I had never even seen Austin St. John in person. Sorry, not see in perfect. See, and Austin St. John in person. I'm having Freudian slips in person, and or Karen Ashley, and they walked in and they're normal people. And keep in mind, this is what's and if anything can be taken from this is my pure appreciation and respect for these people is that I used to drink champagne and eat sushi at Michael Jackson's house in Neverland. Like I can say I got drunk and held it together and ate sushi and hit on the waitress at Neverland. But when the red and yellow Power Ranger walk into a coffee shop, I'm like this, blah, 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 and even talking about it, but they walk in and Karen Ashley is like, hey, what's going on? As if I knew her, like as if we were old friends. Like she could have been my aunt or something. And Austin St. John is huge, and he's like very tall, and he's super. I'm sitting there going, oh my god, like it's Jason. Like I want to like call my friends from junior high and go, oh my god, I'm having coffee with Austin St. John. Yeah. And so Austin St. John and Karen Ashley are sitting there talking, and I start talking about stuff, and Austin, and the details of the conversation I'll hold on for a little bit longer, but because there's stuff that has a lot to do with the plot. Yeah. But I pitched them the basic story, how I wanted to handle Trini. And this is something that's very special, and this is also another real speaks to Karen Ashley and her tremendous character. Not the character of Aisha, which is incredible, but her character as a person. Karen Ashley is genuinely a good person. And when I started talking about Trini, she said, that's the most important thing in the whole movie or in the episode or whatever it is. That's the most important thing. The Trini element, character, and storyline is the most important thing, most important factor for me. That's the most important factor. Mm-hmm. And as a fan, I go, that's the most amazing thing anybody's ever said. Like, this is the actress she replaced on the show.
Right.
And she's telling me that the most important thing in this script, which I agreed with, is how we handle Trini. Trini is, and I told her, I said, this episode is an homage to Trini. This is for Trini. This is what we're doing. And Austin, and also if you talk about her with Austin, you ask him who his favorite Power Ranger is, Trini. Done. Next.
Yep.
And it's funny because you talk to Walter Jones, and he'll tell you his favorite Power Ranger is Trini. Mm-hmm. And also, what's really funny is I was talking to Walter Jones once, and I said, well, yeah, like in this comic book or something, I saw that, the romance between Trini and Jason. I thought it was really cool. And he goes, now hold on a second. Walter was like, hold on a second. That's not all the comic books. He's like, because there's stories where there's a relationship between Zach and Trini in one of the universes. So don't get twisted. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But he took it like that's how coveted and loved he was, as a person. And then the character of Trini is it's her. Then that's the other thing in this conversation with Austin and Karen. I found out something that was really important, and that is that they really are those people. And and there is a Power Ranger actor that I spoke with and met with who did not agree that we should be able to identify that that these actors are those characters. And I can't say that all the cast is those characters, but I can tell you that Austin St. John is Jason Lee Scott. That is who he is. And if you like Jason Lee Scott, then you will love Austin St. John. Because Jason Lee Scott on TV is cool. Austin St. John is in person.
Yeah.
Is life-altering to people that look up to him. You know what I'm saying? And they're dumb. They're just dumb, amazing. They're so amazing, it's dumb and stupid. Like they live up to the hype created by their careers. Karen and Austin St. John are just incredible people, just like Walter, so so that's, and I've learned this, a lot of the Power Ranger casts the multiple casts that I've met now, that easily 90% of them are just the most incredible people we've ever met. You know, and so going on with that, I could talk about how incredible they are all day. But I haven't even gotten to Roger Velasco yet. But who I'm in love with. But one of the big things is, so we talked about that. I talked about the you know, I know everybody's tired of talking about this, but the rumored or hinted at or even kind of outspoken by certain people beef between Austin St. John and Jason David Frank. And the best thing that Austin St. John said, because in this script, I write I write Jason Lee Scott and Tommy Oliver as friends who were best friends, and then for some reason broke up. Their friendship just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And taking a realistic perspective on it and going back and watching all the original shows and everything, but taking aspects of my own life with one of my best friends, and he was the Jason to my Tommy always, and how our friendship was hurt and how we repaired it and why it was hurt and why we repaired it. And so in this, you know, and I compared it to because I wanted to subliminally handle the beef. And the first thing Austin St. John said to me was, there is no beef between me and Jason David Frank. He is a good guy. He's a great fighter. He is a great teacher. He's an incredible actor. And when it came down to the Tommy character, he did great work with Tommy. The production company, you know, Haim Saban, took a character that was really popular and built and built and built and built on top of him. He goes, if we had stayed with the show, the same would have happened to us. They were really good with that. He said, but unfortunately, we left the show. You know, you know, that obviously there was bad blood there, obviously over, you know, stuff. But he was talking purely from a, you know, creative in the room standpoint. He said, Jason David Frank is great at what he does. He knew exactly how to handle that character. He played him so great. He goes, my hat's off to how JDF handled that. And then he became the Power Ranger. And, you know, I would have done it too. He did an amazing job. And so I was just like, wow, that's really refreshing, because online it sounds like you guys are trying to kill each other. And Austin was like, no, not at all. He goes, but I really like what you're doing. And one of the things that, and here's the big takeaway from this meeting, is that Austin St. John said to me, I think you really have your finger on the pulse of the fandom. You really get these characters and you really understand how the fans look at them. Now, keep in mind, I've never been a part of the fandom. I've never gone to Power Morphicon at this point. I have never even written fan fiction for Power Rangers. The most you get out of me is that for a project in 8th grade, I drew the Green Ranger and the Dragon Zord walking through a city, and it was mathematically using perspective, and it was a math project that they had on the wall. That's it. That's all you get. That's all, you know, when it comes to fandom. And I think I had a Tommy figure on my desk when I was in high school. Like, that's about it. But I love Power Rangers and I love the characters, especially Tommy's my favorite, you know, as everybody always says. And those character relationships I thought were really important. And he said, yeah, man, you get it. You get where, he's like, you, with your background in TV and animation and programming combined with creativity and your knowledge of Power Rangers, you really get it. And that says it all, you know. And then they gave me their blessing, and Karen asked me if I was okay with receiving feedback. And I was like, absolutely. Because Paul Newman said once, when they were asking Paul Newman in an interview, what makes him great, what makes his movies great, his acting, everything, what's his trick? And he said, I work with great people and I take all the credit. Like, they, you know, and he's in a scene with Robert Redford. Him and Robert Redford have a great rapport, and Robert Redford goes, we should try this, we should try this, we should try this. And then people go see the movie and they go, man, Paul Newman's great. Because Paul Newman knows how to take constructive criticism. And so I was like, absolutely, tell me everything you want. I was like, because I don't want to pitch something that you go, I don't really like that Aisha does this, or, you know, I want you to tell me what you like, what you don't like, and we'll fix it. And they said, great. and they said, cool, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm putting together a treatment for pitch, and I just want to, talk to as many people as I can in your crew. And they were like, great. So then they set me up with a conversation with David Yost. And so David Yost and I met up and had a conversation at Starbucks on, what street is that on? I could drive there. It's right off the 101, but in Hollywood. And David and I met, and he didn't like my initial pitch for Billy, and which I take a positive from, because him not liking it shaped what became of the character in the treatment, which became first draft script, and it influenced the story and the character's reason for being there exponentially. Because what I had originally was just character breakdowns of where they are, who they are, what they've done. And then the plot, A, B, C, D, because the plot follows a typical Power Rangers episode with a bumper on the end, with a finale. Mm-hmm. So it is get the Rangers together, get their powers going. They fight putties, they fight putties. They get more Rangers. They do this, they do this, they do this. They handle their personal lives, how it's involved. They fight a giant monster. They, it is. And that's one of the things that I had to really. I had because Karen and Walter definitely saw this as being much more of a cinematic 2-hour feature on it after I'd sent them kind of what the initial treatment was. They were like, well, this seems much more like an episode of the show with these characters handling their issues and where they are. And I said, yeah, the idea was that this would be an episode that does that. And then we see where we go. Because you never know. I mean, Star Trek, there was talk of a Star Trek movie in the 70s. Then there was a talk of a Star Trek TV show, Phase 2. And then it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And my mindset was, we write a really great episode. All of a sudden, they're going to be like, hey, can you make a series? Can you do, obviously, you'd have to figure out all the issues. JDF, yes. The series of issues that caused the splitting of the Power Rangers, cast and everything. Oh, sorry, Siri just woke up because I said something. Those issues still remain. So that was something that we had to talk about as well. And we would, want to figure out how we can do that stuff. But, it really was figuring out the characters and doing that. And then talking to David Yost, he was very direct and was like, yeah, I don't like that. I don't want that. That's not what I see Billy doing. And I said, okay, well, what about this? And, I threw it all out there. And then David was like, okay, that's better. That's better. Okay, he's like, because you have to deal with Aguitar. Aguitar, is that what it's called? Aguitar. I'm so sorry. Fans are going to be like, I hate this guy. But it's all in the script, I promise. And handle, his wife and the alien Rangers, that came from there and how he left and da-da-da-da. But it's funny, too, because at the same time with all of these people, there were certain concerns about how the characters left the show, how they were written out. And even from some of them, a negative, some not negative, some just like, oh, that's the way it goes. And some being like, yeah, I can't believe they did this to my character. What a crappy way to, and there were multiples of those. Yeah. And it's funny because David didn't sound super positive about how his ending on the show went or the way they wrote off the character. However, he told me that it had to be that way. And I was like, absolutely, totally. So I went in and then he told me he mentioned his concern for Saban starting to work on a feature and rebooting the characters with different actors, and that the time frame was going to be limited. And so I said, yeah. I was like, yeah. I said, I don't really think that's going to be a problem because this is, the TV universe is the TV universe and the movies are the movies, and it's possible to do things two things at the same time. He didn't necessarily agree with me, but I think DC has proven that. Marvel has proven that DC has 4 different universes going at the same time, 3 of them TV and 1 of them features, and now they're going to add on another Batman universe. So it works. You just have to be wise. And that's what I told him. I said, cool. So what I did was we started working on getting the pitch set up, and you know, when it came to Saban, there was zero interest at the time. There was zero interest in the original cast, zero interest, and I got a resounding no. I did get notes back on the first kind of draft to Karen Ashley, and seeing Karen Ashley, where Walter Jones would be the spine of the whole thing, I would say Karen Ashley is the heart easily, because she gave me notes. And she was very delicate, which I don't think she needed to be. But she was like, you know, are you okay with me giving you notes? And, you know, as a writer and a creative myself, I want to make sure. And, you know, and she's very established writer and producer in her own right. So when she said to me, you know, here are my list of notes, I said, great. Because Walter's note was, I thought this was going to be a movie. This is like an episode. He's like, I want more. I want this to be longer. This is great. I want more. And keep in mind, this is about an hour-long episode. I mean, it is pretty hefty. I as I recalled, it was like half an hour. I went back and looked at it. No, it's at least an hour. But Karen was like, Bulk and Skull have to be in it. And then she said, you know, you can have them be villains. You can have them da-da-da-da. And I said, wait a minute, what a great idea. Let me think about this. And I started throwing ideas, and she was like, there you go, cool. And then, because I'm a bad fan, I had left out Kat. And that's completely my fault, and I'm an idiot for doing that. However, after that note, Kat is in it, and Kat is in a lot of it, and Kat is a very important character in it, much like Billy. You know, adding these characters in rearrange the story a little bit, so that it's much more tangible and it's better. And because also Tommy has stuff with Kat, Tommy has stuff with Kimberly, Jason has stuff with Zach, Jason has stuff with Tommy has stuff with everybody. The villains have issues with the heroes, you know. Yeah. And you know, and it had to be handled that, you know, because I looked it up and I went back and watched Power Rangers in Space, and saw that Lord Zed, Rita, and all those type of characters, you know, the evil throughout the universe has been destroyed. And I had to handle that. And also, as I remembered, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the coins were all destroyed. The Ninjetti and the OG coins were all destroyed by Gubar and turned to dust. And I had to handle that. I had to see when Adam Park showed up with a somehow reconstituted coin and morpher that made no sense. I had to figure out that it was cracked. I was like, it was dust last time we saw it. Now it's just cracked. What the hell is this? I had to figure that out. And I had to figure out Adam and Rocky and Kat and Tommy and Jason and Aisha and Billy and all of them. So yeah, so we had those conversations, and then Saban, it was made clear to me, to my agent, that Saban was not interested. And then the movie came out. That went the way it went.
It blows. It was a bad movie. I hated it.
Couple of I have issues with it, but there are positives and there are a lot of negatives, in my opinion. But sorry, my 7-year-old is texting me right now. I'm seeing text pop up.
Well, basically, I met you at Warner Brothers in 2000. What did I say? 18. And and when I heard it, when you told me the entire thing, the entire pitch that you did, the story behind it, like I said, this has to be out in the world somewhere. And I remember I got on LinkedIn and I was like, let me find someone at Hasbro, because I didn't know anybody. Like I have connections, but they only go so far. And I think you're correct. Your connections are vastly deeper than mine. And so I started looking through, and I remember I saw someone. I was like, yo, there's someone that works at Hasbro that works at Warner Brothers. And I was like, you know this guy? And you're like, yeah, he's down the hall. And I was like, go talk to him. Let's get this thing going. And ironically, after I heard the pitch, I started to see, like a week later, I started to see someone try to pitch the project. And I was like, this sounds like your project. And this is where I got pissed, because, you know, I've had things stolen from me. I've been accused of stealing things. Actually, Brendan had to help me out legally. I'm very, very protective over, you know, work that is created, and then someone tries to slap their name on it. And, you know, I got pissed, and then we started that process of trying to get with Hasbro. You had your agent on it, and that process was starting right smack dab in the middle of right before PMC 2018. And also we were getting ready to film Protectors of the Power, your documentary that you did on that as well. It sucks. I mean, I think once we got to that Hasbro part, it dissipated.
Yeah. And it's funny because at Power Morphicon, I even saw some of the people that I'd be talking with, you know, because my agent was going emails back and forth and stuff. And so some other people, because it's weird because there's so many people that were there that are connected to me via my time at Disney, Warner Brothers, that type of stuff. So I was like, oh, hey, you know, you and I met, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago. I know your wife, or I know, you know, because I worked with her at Disney, or because of this, or because of that. And, you know, we were exchanging cards and talking about, like, yeah, man, I've been talking to so-and-so, and I'm supposed to be coming in and pitching something. And they're like, oh, great. Like, let's, you know, and very cool people, even, you know, some that I'm very friendly with even to this day. And so we were getting ready, and my agent reached out to me and said, okay, there's an issue. And I'm like, oh, God. But of course, you have to expect issues with these things. There's hurdles. And they asked if it could be animated. Mm-hmm. And now we know that's kind of, or at least it's been said that that's kind of the direction that they want to go anyways. But back at after Power Morphicon in 2018, I was made aware. It seems a lot longer ago than 2018.
Yeah.
But January seems like a lot longer ago in 2020. But they were like, hey, yeah, we're interested if it's animated. Coincidentally, I actually went back through my messages and saw when I was messaging my wife, and I said, yo, Walter Jones happens to be on the lot shooting something at Warner Brothers, and I just got an email asking me if it can be animated, and I don't know if I want to, I don't know how they're going to react to that, because I think they're just going to say no. Like, who wants to do it animated, you know? And I went over to Walter. I said, "Hey, Walt." And he was having lunch. I think he was. I don't remember what he was shooting. I think he was working on the New Edition movie. I might be wrong, but so I went over there, and I was like, "Hey, so I got this email from so and so my agent got this email from so and so at Hasbro, and they want to know if it can be animated." And Walter was like, "Oh," I could see it just, "Oh." And then I said, "But if we get in the room and we can pitch it, like you and I go there together," because this has been, you know, a year or two, 2 years, 3 years, maybe even more. Yeah. Like it was a while after the Saban stuff had happened. Mm-hmm. And he looked up and he said, "Yeah, let's do it. I guess it'll be animated." And that was it. And he smiled, and then again, boom, handshake, and the montage starts. And then very shortly after, we were going back and forth in emails, and then it kind of disappeared, and then came back, and then all of a sudden the emails stopped, and then we found out that everybody from Saban that had moved over to Hasbro had been laid off.
Right.
It was within a week or two of that, and that's when everything stopped. There was silence, and I never heard another peep. So I guess it's dead.
And it's funny because just now we have reports coming out that, oh, Hasbro wants to do this animated, and you know, like we knew this 2 years earlier. I think and that's what I tell people. I'm like, when you work in these circles and you work in these fields and you know people, yeah, you're gonna get the news ahead of time. We knew, and we know this is the last season of an actual live action Power Ranger series, you know, so it's the animation, especially with Hasbro, that's what they're in for. They're here to sell toys. They don't care about that story. They want
low budgets and high profit.
Exactly. They're a toy company. So, and if they do it, they'll do movies and they'll look like, you know, Transformers. So, but, you know, with this being said and done, you know, the script lay dormant, and Brendan reached out to me and said, look, I want to release it. And I said, no, no, let's not. Let's hold on. And, you know, I think just me, maybe I was holding out hope for it to turn into something else, but Brendan went forward. He said, let's get this table read done. Let's do it on Zoom. No one's doing anything. Pandemic has ruined all of us. Let's do something positive. And so this whole little project, the Back to Action Project, you know, started off with me putting out a post. You know, even though I've asked people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, everyone commented on, yeah, I want to be a voice in a Power Ranger, you know, sit down script of an unknown script that was pitched. And it turned into something big. And I thought it was, you know, I told Brendan, I said, I think we have something bigger on our hands. And it just erupted. By
the way, I hate to interrupt, but we just got our cat just double confirmed. So we do have cat now. I'm going to post it on my Instagram.
Do you want to spread the word? And everyone's been here waiting an hour and 15 minutes. Do you want to announce our final four?
You want to announce the final four? God, how exciting is this? Who's excited? I'm so excited because I've been excited about this. So one thing also, and you know, like to Martha's story, one of the things that was really cool is, so we'll be announcing 5, I guess, right now. One of them is not a former Power Ranger, but she's a very, 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 very accomplished actress.
Yeah.
Super huge talent, and she's a good friend of mine. She's incredible. But when Martha posted that, within minutes, a Power Ranger hit her up and said, whatever Brendan wants, I'm in, I want to do it. And then I said, cool, that person's going to play this character. And then maybe 15, 20 minutes later, somebody on Facebook goes, I want to do this, famous Power Ranger. Then a friend of mine who, Justin, who is going to be our narrator, reached out and said, hey, you know, I got 2 other people that might be interested in doing it. And I'm like, really? And they're like, they're both Power Rangers. And I'm like, no way, like more Power Rangers? I'm like, but they know that they would be not playing the characters they played, right? This is the Mighty Morphin, so I'll be playing different characters. I'll be playing the OGs. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, man. And then I was very surprised to get an email. Totally. I'm in. This sounds great. Let's do it. What do you want to do? Like, I'm happy. You know, one of them was having his what do they call, wisdom teeth pulled. He's like, yeah, I can't do it, because he thought we were gonna do it like in a couple of days, out of commission for the next week. Because I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be a couple of weeks away. And then the other one was like, bro, sounds like you got something really good going on. I'm gonna be out of town till August 5th. I'm like, well, we're doing it the following weekend, so we're good. But they were like, this is great. Let's do it. You know. And so it was really exciting.
I brought 2, you brought 2.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, okay, let me, so the first one I'll be posting, you know, and it was just because we were waiting for her to confirm, but you won't know who this is, but she's a very accomplished actress, and she's just an incredible person, super talent. And she has you should follow her on Instagram, because she's a great force in the world for good and for positive change, especially with racial and sexual inequality, LGBTQ, female, minority. She's an advocate, and she's just an incredible talent, incredible person. I had a meeting with her on a short I was going to shoot maybe 6 years ago, and I was so impressed with her that I was just like, I'm so impressed with her as a person and as an actress. Her name is Tiara Valentine, and she's going to be our cat, which is really exciting. So if you look up Tiara Valentine on Instagram, I will be posting her flyer here shortly.
We'll be posting all these after this. So
yeah. So she's an incredible person, an incredible talent. Okay. Now, who is a fan of Power Rangers Dino Charge? Anybody like Dino Charge? I like Dino Charge. In fact, it's one of my daughter's favorite seasons. So Dino Charge. Okay, I'm going to pull up the image because I want to make sure that I have Sailor Moon's stuff. Okay, Dino Charge. We are, God, okay, stop doing a phone like that. Sorry, all my notes are always in my phone, so whenever I'm in meetings, I'm always like, yo. So the first one I'm going to announce is Yoshi Sudarso as Adam Park. So that's incredible. How do we get Yoshi Sudarso to play Adam Park? How exciting is that? I mean,
bravo.
Yeah, that's as soon as my buddy said Yoshi, I was like this. I was like, oh my god, I know who this guy is.
Ryan says he knew it. I don't know how.
How did you know that, Ryan? Whatever.
Yeah, I know. I want to know who the hell you're talking to. Our stuff is on lock. We have not.
The only people that knew that, to my knowledge, are Martha, my wife, who doesn't even know who these guys are. Okay, so.
Okay.
Let's switch gears. We'll go with our Jason Lee Scott.
Nah.
Our Jason Lee Scott. This is the one I would people figure out will be played by Roger Velasco.
That's right. He's ready to kick some ass too.
Green Turbo Ranger, Black Space Ranger will be playing Jason Lee Scott in Back to Action on the table read. So Roger Velasco. And then, so God, my phone is like, my hands are shaking because I'm excited. Let me see. So, which one's this one? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Ninja Steel. Gotta love Ninja Steel, right? I'm a huge Ninja Steel fan. So you gotta love Ninja Steel, right? Well, we have Yoshi's brother, Peter Adrian Sudarso, playing Rocky DeSantos, which is, once again.
Yes. This is a huge feat. I don't even know how this happened. I mean, this is crazy. Congratulations. That's just dope.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. Roger is going to be playing. I'm sorry. I was looking at the comments, but yeah, Peter is going to be playing Rocky, which is really exciting. In fact, Roger, his schedule was difficult until he found out that Yoshi and Peter were doing it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm good now. No, I'm fine now."
Oh yeah, he totally. I mean, he's like, I'm agreeing, because whenever we started talking about this, he's like, "Yo, I want to do that." And then I was like, well, this is for Brendan. And, he's like, well, it's for Brendan. Done. Whatever he wants me to do. And I was like, you don't even know what it is. He's like, I don't care. We're going to do it. I was like, okay. And then when we were trying to figure out the schedules, he was like, wait, what are we doing again? And I was like, Roger, come on now. Oh, that's right. And I was like, we're going to have, the Sudarsu brothers in. And he's like, wait, what? Okay. Yes, I am there. You tell me when. And I was like, yes. So. And
really exciting. Lots of fun. So here we go. So Tommy Oliver, man. So Tommy Oliver, and it's important because chemistry is so important between Jason and Tommy in this. That's why, and also in this, because I've always viewed Rocky and Adam as being best buddies. Rocky and Adam are a pair. They come together. In this script, they are together. Mm-hmm. They are buddies. Like, they do a mission. They actually get a great featured solo mission together, and it's them. Like, Adam and Rocky, to me, are a pair. So when it comes to Jason and Tommy, Selwyn would be a great Tommy. Selwyn would have been a great Tommy.
Selwyn's too busy. I mean, I love to them, but no.
But it was important that there had to be great chemistry between Jason and Tommy. So when it came to casting Tommy, it was really easy. And Ryan Nemo wins. Justin Nemo. I'm sorry, I said Ryan Nemo. Ryan from Morphin Network is going to be Justin Nemo as Tommy Oliver. Very exciting. Selwyn or Blake? Yeah, Blake would be a good Tommy as well, but Selwyn would be an excellent Tommy. Yeah. Justin Nemo will be playing Tommy Oliver, with Roger playing Jason. So that's going to be outstanding. Like, that's super exciting to me because Nemo was the second guy to jump on. Nemo was like, me. Why am I not being asked to be in this?
Yeah.
And then he told Martha, listen, if Brendan wants me to do something, all he's got to do is ask me. I didn't know Nemo and I were on that level, but I've hung out with Nemo, and he's a super cool guy, and I love him to death, but I didn't know it was like, just have him call me. I don't have your number, Justin.
Nemo on the DL is my boo in my mind.
Right.
He doesn't know that.
So it's really cool. We got the Sudarso brothers playing Rocky and Adam, and then we've got Roger as Jason, and we've got Justin Nemo as Tommy Oliver. It's going to be really exciting.
freaking
super great. And then also it's great to have Tiara Valentine come on and be Kat. I mean, not only that, but I mean, just to talk about the people that are doing this.
Yeah.
Glenda Morales as Aisha. Now, Glenda Morales has been a friend of mine for a long time. Very successful dancer, very successful choreographer. She was in the dance group Fanny Pack on
Glee.
On what?
Glee.
She was on Glee. She was also in the Bring It On films. So she to me, I think I told her this when I met her like 100,000 years ago. I was like, "You are going to be my Aisha," and she was like, "What?" Because her personality is very reminiscent of Aisha.
Yeah.
From Power Rangers, she's very bubbly. She's very positive, and that's Aisha. They're very similar people. And then let me scroll so I can. So like I said, I have everything in my phone all the time. Yes, Samantha Scanlon is playing Kimberly Hart. She's a great actress. She's been on How I Met Your Mother. She's been on Dexter. She's been on a bunch of things. She's a very accomplished singer and stage actress. She was part of there was an acting troupe in LA when I met her called did 30-minute musicals, and they were very, very, very successful. I don't know if they're still going. I hope they are. But they would take really bad or silly movies and do 30-minute musical versions of them, and they were hilarious. And she's incredible. Andre Giles as Lord Zed. I don't know if you've listened to Andre and Andre's his Lord Zed was so impressive, because keep in mind, when it came to the voices, we got so many great submissions for the voices. Like each one we got, Martha and I would call each other and go, "That's the one. He's got to be Goldar. She's got to be this. He's got to." And it piled on and piled on and piled on and piled on. We had so many great submissions. And Andre killed it.
And Brendan made the final selections. I get people coming at me like, "Oh, what did I do wrong?" I'm like, "Oh
no, nobody did anything wrong. Everybody was incredible." That they were honestly, I thought we were going to be doing this with friends. I thought I was going to be calling in favors, and everybody was incredible.
I also want to take a moment, Brendan. I'm sorry. You know, there are people that have major anxiety that auditioned, that they said,
"Oh, sorry, Andre. Sorry, I mispronounced your name. My apologies."
There were people that were like, "I don't want to do this online, but I really want to play this character, and like my nerves are shot, but I can do it." And they performed fantastically, and they did so good. And I applaud everyone who participated in doing this the way we requested it, because not only did we see your talents, but you also overcame that little obstacle of finding that confidence and, you know, believing in yourself. And I'm so proud of everybody that got this. And Brendan, you did a great job in bringing in that star power with some of your other people that you brought in, and the Siddhartha brothers. Fantastic. But continue.
Yeah. And my buddy Justin Mariconda is he's going to be doing the narrator. He's a very accomplished actor himself. He had put in for Adam. And in my opinion, Justin is Adam in real life. Like he's Adam to me in real life. And he was like this. He goes, "Listen, I'll play whatever part you want me to play," because he's the one that got me connected with the Siddhartha brothers. And he said they should really be splitting Rocky and Adam duties, because you know they're the big guys. And I was like, okay, cool. I appreciate you being so great about it. But Justin has a great voice and is such a great talent that I was like, I want him to be prevalent in this. And as a narrator, he's going to be outstanding, because he gets really excited. And he's really good. He's been in, he was in Twilight. He's done a gazillion things. He's been TV, movie, commercials. He's a super talented guy, and I'm massively in love with him. Okay. And then a good buddy of mine who does do voiceovers, does act, and he submitted for the car salesman character, who is the first character to appear in the script. The opening sequence involves this car salesman who was written. It's my grandfather. My grandfather loved the color red, and so whenever we go as a kid, my parents would buy a new car, you know, he would go with them, and something he would say was, he would go, "You know, they don't charge extra for it in red. You know that, right? they don't charge for extra for it in red. So you know that. And that always stuck with me. And there's also another line that my grandfather used to say. We'd walk onto the car lot or wherever, or even if he was buying a coffee mug or whatever, it didn't matter what it was, a pen. They would be like, hey, so, what color are you looking for? And he would go, doesn't matter what color it is as long as it's red. And so that kind of shaped who this character is. And the character does say those lines in it. And my buddy Thomas Sievers, he's a good buddy of mine. He's also an Orange County Ghostbuster. He's going to be playing a car salesman. He's just an amazing dude, super hilarious, super talented, ridiculously dumb and talented. And then Billy Cranston, who we did have a number of submissions for that were all great.
Yeah.
Billy Cranston has a very, very complicated role in this. Because as I said, I was given very specific notes by David Yost. And bland, simple, easy, safe was not going to work for this character. So I'm going with somebody who submitted for it and is a very serious actor. He has been on Parks and Rec, has been on all sorts of stuff. Super talented guy, Jason Paul Evans, will be playing Billy Cranston, and it's because this character goes through a lot, is dealing with a lot, and is emotionally in a place where he has to kind of find his way back to being wanting to be a part of things, and also at the same time being one of the catalysts in everything that's going on. So Jason Paul Evans will be playing Billy Cranston. Let me see what else we got. Okay, so if I mess up on your names, I apologize. So Andre, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Andre Giles, I apologize for that. I have a weird last name too, so not that yours is weird, but mine is mispronounced all the time. I just got food delivery yesterday for Brenda. I'm like, it's Brendan. Can't.
Wow.
My last name is the disaster. So we had lots of great submissions for Scorpina. In fact, this person didn't even submit for Scorpina. However, the Scorpina in the script is massively evolved from what she was. She is no longer just the pretty girl in the spandex. She is she's the destroyer of worlds mentality. She definitely is a weapon. She's no longer, oh, look, it's one of my people to fight you. Now she is a weapon. She's a living weapon monster. But it is Scorpina. And I want to give away spoilers because she does something, and it's a character building thing for somebody else, but I'm not going to. Taisha Williams will be playing Scorpina. She actually had submitted just character voices that she did. And when I first heard her, I was like, oh my God, she doesn't sound like her, but she should be Rita. She'd be a great Rita because she's just so good. And Martha was like, yeah, right. And then it sounded exactly dead on to Rita Repulsa by Shelby Orlando. And she's going to be our Rita Repulsa. I mean, she sounds like she just held up to the TV. So, which is going to be amazing. And I couldn't let Taisha not be in it. And because Scorpina is now kind of has progressed as a monster, like Taisha's her voices are so great, they have to be, she's going to be the mutant monster version of Scorpina. And Shelby Orlando is going to be our Rita Repulsa, which is really great. And these are all people that are fan submitted that I haven't met. So they really did a great job. So I'm really lucky to be married to the most beautiful woman on the planet. In addition to that, she has a great family, and I love her family very much. And her brother, Joel, is a professional voice actor. He does multiple voices, and he does all sorts of stuff. He does voiceovers. He's a professional voice actor. That's what he does. And
let me stop you for a minute. Mark's got to bounce, but he'll be here next week. So
sorry about that, Mark. We're talking for more.
No worries. I mean, this is definitely an important and a huge project that has been a baby of yours for quite a while, and it's definitely going to be huge. And I look forward to seeing it.
I'm sorry, we wanted to do it for an hour, but it went over, and so it is what it is. So Mark, we'll see you next week. Our next week's topic will be on I don't know. I'll announce it. I'll see you later, Mark.
All right, cool deal.
All right, continue. Sorry.
Just the two of us. But my brother-in-law, Joel, is going to be playing Zach Taylor, and he will be voicing the voice of Saba, the White Tiger Sword, which is really fun and really great. Saba does make an appearance, so we needed a voice, and since he does a million voices, he was going to be my ringer in case I was like, he can do any voices, so I just plug him in. But I also needed somebody, in addition to having great experience and chemistry with Jason. Jason's best friend is Zach, and we see that in this. They are like this throughout the entire thing. Yeah. I would say Tommy is like his brother, and Zach is his best buddy. So experience counted, and he, submitted stuff, and he's just stellar. And then he can also play Saba. So initially he was just listed as Saba. Yeah. But he's submitted as both, and he's excellent, and I needed experience in that. When it comes to Goldar, which once again is a fan submission by somebody who wants to do more of this stuff, Kyle D. Garrett will be doing Goldar, and his Goldar is on point. I mean, he sounds just like him. Yeah. And he's a great guy. He has a podcast called Dad Smoking Cigars. Lots of nerd culture. So if you like him, you should make sure to follow him. He's great. Now, I'm going to mess up Alex's last name, so I apologize. So I don't say his name correctly. So Bulk and Skull. I didn't know how we were going to do this because casting Bulk and Skull is probably the hardest of all of the characters, in my opinion. So because and they haven't seen the script yet, so they're going to have some moments. They're going to have to talk with me on how they're going to handle this. Bulk and Skull are still Bulk and Skull, but they're very different characters than we were the last time they saw him. Yeah. And this was once again at Karen Ashley's suggestion that the characters had to be in there, and she's completely right. What an idiot! You have to have Bulk and Skull and Power Rangers. It's not Power Rangers. Right. Watch the movie. There's no Bulk and Skull. Guess what? It's not Power Rangers to me. So Chris Ness and Alex Wojcicki. Am I saying it wrong?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Wojcik? I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. I'm so sorry. But my last name, people screw it up all the time, too, so I'm really sorry. But Chris and Alex did such an amazing job in their audition. I'm like, and then apparently they cosplay as them. I haven't seen their cosplay. I got to look at it.
Yeah, I remember when that audition came through, and I remember I watched it and I laughed, and then I went back to watch it. They did great.
Yeah, they're gonna be amazing. And Bulk and Skull have a great, because one of the things is that I think characters first, like characters. Who are these characters? The plot is ... We make these points, and which characters have to be involved, and then I figure out I figured out the characters first and what's going on with them. One of the things, Karen Ashley is amazing. So when it comes to, in fact, one of the also suggestions of Karen Ashley, the car salesman in the opening of the story was going to be played by the guy who played Zordon. His name is escaping me right now, but he was going to play. Say what?
David Fielding.
Yeah, he was going to play the car salesman in the opening scene. It was not created for him, but Karen Ashley said, "I want him to play it." And I said, "I agree, absolutely, 100%." Yeah. But when it came to the characters, I was thinking of who are they now and why are they there? And that was the thing with Kat, with Bulk and Skull, with Billy, because I knew why Jason was there. I knew why Zach was there. I knew why Kimberly was there. I knew why those characters were there. I didn't know why they were there. So when they were thrown at me, I was like, damn it. And the Billy character had to be changed because David didn't like the way I was going with it, or my initial pitch of him. And so once I fixed it, to David's credit, to Karen's credit, to everybody's credit that gave me input, everything was fixed. Everything is much better because of that. They didn't give me character notes on how they should be, where they should be at, what they should be doing. They literally just listened to me and said no. And so I threw something else at them, and it happened. And with Bulk and Skull, they became really great additions to the cast. So I think I have announced everybody now.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's everybody.
I think that's it.
Now, there are some smaller, little tiny roles where it's like one line here, one line there. This is the main cast. Yeah. There might be some additions because like I said, there were so many great auditions, and I loved all of them. They were all so great that there are some people I might reach out to and said, "Hey, are you interested in doing one line as there's like, there's a character that's a slave girl character. It's slave world on another planet type of deal. I don't want people to go, wait a minute, what happens? You go back to like pre-Civil War? No.
Yeah.
But there is a character that is a slave girl on another planet that has one line, and she is talking to Jason. So we'll have to fill in those spots, but they're going to be, I'm going to reach out to people that audition and say, hey, are you interested in playing this? So that's what we're doing. We have an amazing cast. The story, I really like. The characters, I really, really care about, and I hope everybody loves it. And it's funny because all the characters that I had kind of left out now have become or done in a way that the actor wasn't the hugest fan of. All came out to be so much better because of that input. So Karen Ashley and David Yost, Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and and even at a point I was told that, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told this. I think it was Karen Ashley that told me this the second time we talked, was that after speaking to David Yost, that JDF, Amy Jo Johnson, that the three of them are like this, and that they were very well aware that I was trying to put this together. And when we got to them, to be prepared to explain their characters and what I wanted to do. And unfortunately never got there because the Saban non-interest killed it. And then when the animation thing came back up, the only person that I had really confirmed with was, I had confirmed with Walter Jones. And then you talked to Austin St. John, and he still really liked the idea. And
ironically, I ran into Austin at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was like, hey, do you remember Brendan Brasier, right? And he was like, yeah. And I said, hey, I'm working with him to try to get this back to life. And he was like, really? He's like, he had a really good story. And I was like, yeah, it's so good. I love what happens with you. And he was like, yeah, man.
Yeah, Austin has a really, because the story started with Austin, the Jason Lee Scott character, because also I'm very inspired by who all of these actors have become in real life. And that was one of the things I said to them was in real life, you inspire people with what you do. Austin St. John, Jason David Frank, Walter Jones, Karen Ashley, David Yost, all of them. They inspire, Steve Cardenas, all of them, they all inspire people with what they do. I mean, Johnny Bosch, have one conversation with Roger Velasco, and you and I, we would lose if we took shots every time he mentions how much he loves Johnny Bosch. And that translates to the fans and other people as well. So it's one of those things where when I pitched it, I said, I want to really highlight how you guys are heroes. You guys are heroes in your daily life. And when I first talked to Walter Jones about Austin St. John, he said, he's a hero in real life, man. He was in the military. He was he's done all these amazing things. And I was like, cool. I want that to be part of the story. And I was warned that these people aren't going to want that, dude. And I was surprised to find out that they did, that they were very into it.
Oh, Alex.
Oh, thanks, Alex. I'm so sorry, pal. Cool. I definitely would have never read that from a phonetics perspective. My name looks like Brasier, but it's Brasier.
Brasier, yeah.
And apparently my first name is weird too. But
by BJ because of Brendan Jason.
Yeah, BJ is my nickname. Yeah, I've been known as that most of my life.
I know you as Brendan. I can't call you BJ. We're not there yet.
Yeah, well, most people call me BJ. But yeah, so it's one of those things where these characters are important to me, and it was important to get the casting right and to make sure the writing is great. And I did my best and had lots of inputs, and I'm very fortunate that I got to do any of it. I wish we'd been able to get it produced, but it's not happening. So instead of being bummed out about it and just letting it disappear, we're going to do this table read, and it's going to be fun. And then I will have this script I pitched and this great story on film with all these great talented people reading the script and acting it out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So when do you expect talent that you've casted for this to get their scripts?
Well, that's kind of an issue in itself. I'm going to be sending out scripts to everybody. However, because I know how fans are, we have to be extremely careful because also there are multiple projects that have been brought up, said in interviews and talked about, or even gone into pre-production that are similar to what this is. And I don't want that to happen in another way. Right. So I also don't want to see other, I do want to see other people liking this and wanting to voice stuff and do their own version of it. But I definitely don't want to see this before we even do anything. I don't want it on the internet. So I definitely don't want the script to be on the internet before we get there. So what I am going to do is there's going to be non-disclosure agreements sent out to everybody that has to sign before they get there.
That means we can sue you if you don't do
before they get their scripts. But also I'm going to be sending incomplete scripts. Yeah. As in Bulk and Skull. But Bulk and Skull, it's spoilers, man. Because once Bulk and Skull, once you read their lines, you know a good chunk of what's going on. But there's the Tommy Jason element and the Jason Zach element. There's so many stuff that you won't know about, but you will know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that I'm going to be sending out Rita Repulsa's script lines, Lord Zed's, Scorpina's lines. Each character, they're going to get their lines.
Right.
Before we'll be doing 2 read-throughs. We'll be doing a read-through where we're talking through how the character, what the characters are saying, because also it's tough to be in an argument with somebody when you don't know what they're saying.
Right.
So, the people will be getting incomplete scripts. They'll be getting their scenes and their lines.
Right.
And then, then with some of the other people that have to have the complete script, because Jason is in almost every scene. Tommy is in almost every scene. Adam, those guys, Rocky, Walt, Zach, a lot of them will be getting complete scripts. Billy is in every scene of the movie, I believe. Even when he's not there, he's on comm.
Yeah.
So those people, they're just going to get complete scripts. But we have to be as careful as we can, and those will be going out this coming weekend.
Yeah.
We're recording the weekend after, and then,
Yeah, this is exciting. All right, Brendan, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram. You can look me up. It's at 1DrProductions. And then my Instagram page is LLBEEJAY. So LLBJ at it's at LLBJ. I'm sorry. And then on YouTube, if you look up the Southgate Ranger, Protectors of the Power, Lady of the Slime, Man Behind the Sweater, or 1DR Productions. It's 2 different words, 1DR Productions. You can find us on YouTube. We do have a website. We're rehabbing it currently. So I need to have that back up, so I'm doing it myself since, it's quarantine. But I would love to have, you guys watch our documentaries, especially if you're into Power Rangers. Obviously, you're listening to this, you're into entertainment stuff. We cover really cool stuff like that. And there's also my docu-series from the last Power Morphicon, Protectors of the Power, which is about the fans and what the characters mean to them. And we'll be doing another one at the next Power Morphicon. Very exciting. So please check those out. Please like and share and comment. And if you're down to follow me, that'd be great too.
Yeah, I just want to give you a special thank you from myself personally, because I never did think I'd work with someone as talented as you, and I'm not kissing your ass or anything, but you have worked in entertainment and you've done this for such a long time, and the fact that you've been willing to partner with me, and especially on this project, it speaks to the testament of like, oh, I'm actually good at something because this guy wants to work with me. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate.
Well, I don't agree with you on any of that stuff, other than I'm very, very, very lucky to have met you, and you and I are partners in crime in this type of stuff. And and it's you've worked with people that are way more successful and way bigger names than me. I am a blip on the radar, but I appreciate it, and everything that MDMC is doing right now and representing and handling. you have gone from being, oh, that nice lady that, you know, that talks to Roger and hangs out with me every once in a while, to being your own boss, your own company, successful and having lots of great clients and doing stuff. And I'm just really glad that people are even interested in this thing. So
yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, I guess that's it for the show. Andre appreciates us, so I'll thank you, Andre. I want to thank everyone who joined today. This is the longest audience I've ever had. So thank you, Brendan, for bringing the star power.
right.
Definitely, we will be posting all of the castings on our Instagram accounts. And you can subscribe to the MDMC Entertainment Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Please subscribe to YouTube. And that's it. We'll see you next week. We're doing another show. Mark will join me back on that one. Next week, I'm going to be talking about hiring a digital marketing agency, what you need to know before you hire somebody. It's in depth. I don't think anyone here will watch it, but if you do want to come back and listen to, you know, us talk about stuff like that, come back. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Say bye, Brendan.
Bye, Brendan.
Thank you so much for coming and being our first guest. I appreciate it. I love you. Mwah.
Ditto.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.